Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the video. I'm here to talk about a little bit of Harry Potter. I've seen all the movies multiple times, and I've never read the books. I read a lot of books, or I listen to a lot of books at work, and I've never read the Harry Potter books. It's been one of those series I just never got into. But I have read or listened to the first book all the way through, and we're going to talk about it. I'm in my comfy hoodie, so sit back and relax, and let's get into it. We're going to be talking about some characters, the way the books relate to the movies, the way the books relate to other books, and I'm just going to try to give you my thoughts on the overall experience. So first of all, reading the books, or the first book, was very similar to the movie. They did a very good job in the Harry Potter movies making the movies similar to the books. And that could be due to the simplicity of the books. Not simple in the bad way, simple in the easy to read. The characters, at least at this point, aren't super complex. The story isn't super complex. It's just an easy read. It's just a good read. So I could see how the story and the characters and everything would translate easily to movies. I'm not saying that like visual effects is easy. That probably was part of the filmmaking that was a little bit more difficult. Mostly because it's magic, so you got to make that at least look decent. But they're very similar. They hit all the same points. There are some minor differences, just basic stuff you don't get in the movies, and a lot of Harry's perspective and what he's feeling in the moment. I would say that the first few movies do a really good job of kind of making you feel the way that Harry feels visually, and the books do that by giving you a glimpse into what he's thinking while he's doing things, and it rounds out his character, at least in the book, very nicely. They also, as far as casting for the movie, they did really good. Each of the characters in the book matches so well. I mean, just as a person who watched the movies, then read the book, and then seeing the characters interact with each other and seeing how they, who they are, it's really nice to see that they took that essence and put it into the movies very well. I've seen a lot of movie adaptations of books that didn't do a great job staying true to the character or changed the character in a lot of ways, and I think the movies did a good job with that. But what the book gives you is a little bit more whimsy, I want to say. You feel a little bit more of the magic, at least in that there's a little bit more a little bit more in the book about the magic world, not as much explaining how magic works or anything like that, but rather in the movies you get to see it, in the books you get to experience it almost, and that was a positive thing for me, at least when I was listening. So the reason I started listening to the Harry Potter books is because I listened to a similar series, not super similar, just similar enough in that there was a young character whose parents were gone. He had no magical ability to speak of, at least in their world. He had some, but none that he really knew of, and yet he was still selected to be able to go to this magic school. The magic in the book is very different. It's a lot more rules and more basic in a lot of ways, and not as fantastical and whimsical. And I know fantastical is not a word, but it is here. The issue with the book was that this character never progressed. They didn't do anything. He had two friends, a friend that was a girl and a friend that was a boy, in a very similar vein to Harry Potter. But they weren't good friends, in my opinion. They questioned everything he said. They doubted everything he said. And yet the reader is supposed to believe that they're friends. The main character only asked questions, to which his professors only gave half answers. It got to the point listening where I wasn't interested in what was going on, because all I was getting were questions with no real answers. And I still, by the fourth book, I listened to 3 books, and then I got about halfway through the fourth book, and I still didn't really understand how their magic worked, even though technically it's supposed to be more of a hard magic system, as opposed to what Harry Potter is, which is on the side of like a soft magic system where everything is sort of not as tangible, so to speak. Hey, if you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed, you too have a magical ability, and that's to hit that subscribe button, and all of our studio videos will show up magically in your subscription feed. And if you're liking this video, definitely give us a like, because we really appreciate it, and give us some feedback in the comments. What do you want to see more of? And so I started the first Harry Potter book, and what I found was that while these books were written for younger people, it was very nice to follow the main character as they learned rather than asked questions through the story. And they made good relationships. All the way the story progressed felt natural, and it didn't feel like the writer was didn't know what was going on in their own story. Even though a lot of the times, maybe as the story progresses, things are made up, but that works for the kind of world that the characters exist in. So going back to the magic in the magic world of Harry Potter, it's very, like I said, it's intangible a lot of the time. You don't know what's going to happen next, which I think is part of why it's a good series, because you don't know if a flock of birds is going to turn into rain or flower petals or something weird like that. It's fun, and it makes it to where you can create a world where anything can happen, which lends itself quite well to books for young people. It doesn't rely on, like I said earlier, a hard magic system where things need to be explained. You couldn't drop an 11-year-old like Harry Potter into the Mistborn series or Lord of the Rings as much, because it wouldn't appeal to not only, I think, a lot of the attention span of a lot of children, but the attention span of a lot of adults. A lot of adults don't want to listen to exactly how the magic works in relation to physics, or in relation to the world, or in relation to characters. And the way Harry Potter works really lends itself to that kind of storytelling, which is what's going to happen next. What are we going to see next? And as far as the movies go, the visual effects artists really, they put a lot of work as the movies went on, especially into making the magic feel tangible. Other than that, there's not too much to talk about as far as likes and dislikes. I liked it. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to the book, and I listened to it at work, so it makes the day go by, and there were never moments in the book where I felt bogged down. There's been a lot of books that I've read, even really good books, that have parts where they're just boring. It feels like you can't get to the next chapter. And I didn't feel that. I felt like the story was good pace. It felt it felt like it progressed very well, and it helped me sort of get through the day as I listened to it. There's not too much more in the books that's in the movies. There's some minor stuff that helps you sort of understand what's going on. For example, they explain that Hagrid was expelled and his wand was broken, and that he is not allowed to use magic. He's not supposed to use magic. But what we didn't get in the movies that we got in the books is that umbrella scene where he takes his umbrella and he shoots it at the fire. That umbrella is his wand. He took the pieces of his wand and used it somehow to integrated it into the umbrella so that he can still use magic, which is fun. I think that's fun for Hagrid to sort of be able to secretly do magic. We don't see him do a lot of it in Harry Potter, and you almost don't think about it. You almost don't think, oh, shouldn't Hagrid be doing more magic? Because they don't really explain, at least to my knowledge, from what I remember, they don't really explain that Hagrid's not really allowed to do magic, or that the umbrella is his magic wand. Also, there's a bit, which I think is a good piece of storytelling, that in the movies, Harry meets Draco Malfoy at Hogwarts, and they instantly don't get along. In the books, he meets him in Diagon Alley in a tailor shop, and Malfoy just starts talking to him about what he thinks of other students, what he thinks of the school. And a good part in the book, Harry thinks to himself, I don't like this guy. And it's not just I don't like him instantly from what he's saying. I don't like him because he reminds me of my cousin Dudley, who is established that Dudley's pretty horrible. And so that's why Harry takes an instant disliking to Malfoy. I mean, not to say that if that scene hadn't been in there later on, it wouldn't have been the same. As they showed in the movies, it probably would have been the same. But I liked that scene that developed something in Harry's mind in the way he thinks about Draco Malfoy's character moving forward in the books. But there's a lot of stuff like that, little things that make a difference. Lots of extra, not lots of extra stuff, but a little bit of extra exposition on some of the things about their classes or their teachers. But mostly you get the same amount of that kind of stuff in the movies. Like I said, I enjoyed the book, and I'm looking forward to reading the next one. Thank you guys for watching this video. We have plenty of more stuff on the studio for you guys to check out, and we hope to see you again.